Welcome, everyone. This is the Jaden podcast, where we ask questions about religion, cults, and cash. Today, I want to introduce myself and tell you why I'm starting the podcast and talk about what we're going to talk about here on the podcast. First of all, let me introduce myself and tell you a little bit more about where I come from. I grew up in the FLDS religion and had a very strict childhood. It was so strict that I didn't really have the opportunity to independently think about the world in any way until I was completely outside of the group. So, to some degree, my purpose in doing these videos is to give myself an opportunity to say what I actually think and to explore the world and to explore other people's beliefs. After being kind of closed off from the whole world for 20 years, it's just so freeing to be able to come on somewhere like this and have my own podcast where I can say exactly what I think. And it doesn't matter if I say the wrong thing, nobody can kick me off. If it's not interesting, then I can still just keep recording. Yet, even if this video only gets 20 or 30 views on YouTube, it still did me a lot of good. I write every week on my blog at jadenjeffs.com, and some of my blog posts get a couple hundred views, and some of them get 20 or 30. But that's okay because every blog post helps me, and I've tried therapy before. And I hate therapy, but writing my blog post is sort of therapy for me. And doing this podcast is sort of therapy for me. I don't know why, but it just is. And actual therapists, I don't believe in them. They don't actually do you any good. Maybe they do you good, and I think you should go to them if they do you good, but they don't do me any good. I just get pissed off and walk out of their office even madder than I went in. It's ridiculous. But I think one of the reasons why therapists don't work for me is because when I walk into them, there's only one thing I'm really thinking about, and it's what is my purpose and how do I figure this out? Because when I grew up in the FLDS, every day I woke up with one purpose, and I knew exactly what I was trying to do. Everything revolved around becoming like God. I didn't do anything in life without that purpose. And when I was 23 or 24 and I decided to drop that, I said, well, now what is my purpose? And it seems like every place I've turned, every religion I've looked at, I haven't been able to find that purpose. I've looked at all different kinds of career paths, and I've gone and sat into a lot of different religions. And I always come back to this question of why am I doing what I'm doing? Even if I had a family, say I got married and had a kid, yeah, that would give me the purpose of my family. But beyond that, there has to be some reason why we're doing what we're doing. It's just hard for me to buy into the fact that we are some evolutionary being that evolved over, millions of years. And now we're just all hanging out like we believe in some God and some people don't, It is hard for me to buy into that. But if it's the truth, I certainly want to consider it. Let's talk about what I'm going to talk about on this podcast. So, I'm interested in cults because after being brainwashed like I was, and I hate to admit that I was brainwashed. I don't like to just sit here on the podcast and say, oh yeah, I was definitely brainwashed. Just opening my Book of Mormon every day, reading some little verse and trying to commit it to memory, closing the book and then listening to my dad for an hour, and then going about my work trying to be this righteous little saint that would comb his hair and wear a long sleeve shirt all the time because that's what we did. And always have long underwear on. You know what I'm saying? And put the long underwear on before your shorts, right? I mean, that's how we spend our life. I don't mean to put too much emphasis on the long underwear. I was just thinking about being down there in the Texas sun, baking, hot as hell, and walking into the bathroom and pulling down your shorts that are all sweaty, but it's not just your shorts that are sweaty because you have long underwear. Your whole damn underwear is wet, right? And it's not that easy to change. You don't just change in a flash. You gotta take off your shirt and then, sort of stretch your arms all out in weird ways, trying to get this long underwear off. And you never put your shorts on unless your long underwear's on, because the long underwear goes on first. I just have to explain that to you guys so you know what you're dealing with here. But I'm interested in people being brainwashed, and I often feel contradictions in people's opinions about cult leaders, not so much in what they do, but in why they do it. Someone says this is the cult leader's motive for why he did it. Most of the time it's they want money, they want power, they want sex. And sure, they may want those things, but I disagree sometimes with why they're doing what they're doing. I think it has more to do with how they were raised and sort of their psychological state than it does with just wanting power and money. So I want to explore cults, and I want to understand how cult leaders brainwash people completely. And I want to understand why people so willingly go along with these things. I read in Robert Greene's book something like people want to be seduced. They want to be, captured. They're dying to find something that is their purpose. And sometimes I wonder if this is one of my problems. It's been a little bit difficult since I left the FLDS because I am so hungry for a purpose that it's pretty easy to fall for anything. So I've recognized that and been pretty careful. When someone says, hey, you should come join us, and I go there and I really feel good about it, I just remember that I felt that same way in the FLDS. And that I'm not just going to buy in hook, line, and sinker and get brainwashed again. The next subject we're going to talk about is cash, money, because every power structure in the world has something to do with money. The people that rule the world are just really rich. And the people that are slaves or poor or don't have the freedom to say what they think, these people don't have money. Why shouldn't I be interested in having a lot of money? Do I want to be one of the people that's controlled or one of the people that's controlling? Do you have a choice? I don't know if you can be a person that's controlled I don't know if there's an in-between between controlled or controlling. Which would you rather be? I mean, I don't want to be a bad person that controls people, but I would much rather control people than people control me. And this takes money. I'm interested in how people make money, but I'm also interested in the mindset that it takes to make money or to do anything big in life. Sometimes money is people's religion, but often it isn't. They have some ulterior motive for getting the money. They were done hard by when they were little, so they have this absolute purpose to not be so poor. Or they're trying to get revenge on somebody, so they got to make a bunch of money. Whatever it is. I'm just interested in money because without money, you're going to be one of the controlled. You're not going to be controlling what happens in your life, you're going to be one of the controlled. Okay, I also want to have fun on this podcast. I'm not going to sit here and constantly talk about God like I was some religious leader that's boring as hell. I'm not I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys to death. I want to have some light-minded, well, I don't know if that's a good word. See, in the FLDS, my dad called us light-minded when we got too silly. But here on the podcast, I'm here to get silly. I feel too serious right now to totally get silly, which is why I often just say sort of sarcastic things, because I don't feel like boisterously laughing out loud. But, you know, we just take things a little bit, I've taken things a little bit too serious all my life, and I'm over it. When I was 12 or 13 years old, Dad shipped us away from Texas, me and some of my brothers, because we were being too light-minded, too silly. And he sent us off to live in Montrose, Colorado, or by Montrose, Colorado for a little while. And I was all repentant and getting over being, too silly. And every time we got too silly, Dad would ship us off. And he would send us somewhere else for a punishment. So I feel like I have the right to come on here and just make all kinds of jokes to make up for that. And in my spare time, when I'm playing pickleball, or when I'm sitting at the dinner table, or when I'm making me some lunch, or when I'm traveling down the road, I should just be constantly being sarcastic and making silly jokes to make up for all this lost silliness that I didn't get to have. When you come around, I should just start joking about you. I feel that I never criticized anyone growing up because I was just too much of a saint. And so now, every once in a while, I should just really criticize people. This is a skill I've got to slowly obtain. This doesn't sound very religious and very righteous, but I'm just letting you know that occasionally I really need to just criticize somebody. I need to look at their face and find all the funny features. I need to look at their hairline and look at how funny it is. I need to really zoom in onto their nose and just find all the blackheads and disgusting pimples that might be right there. I also don't mind if people come on and roast me. If I have somebody on this podcast and they're good at roasting, they better roast me. My red hair, my skin that will get freckles if I sit on the beach too long. So yeah, we're going to have a good time on this podcast, and we're going to make jokes, even though right now I feel sort of serious and I'm not laughing about nothing. Okay, let's talk about religion for a little bit. I've always taken religion seriously, but I don't even know if I can take it seriously anymore. When we talk about religion on the podcast, should I mock it? Should I take it sincerely? It's almost like I either have to take religion seriously or I have to mock it. It's hard for me to find an in-between where I can talk about religion and just be happy. If somebody's telling me about religion or their spiritual experience or whatever it is, I almost have to take it seriously or mock it. I don't know why that is. I think it's something I need to get over. It's this weird dynamic. But I just hope I don't get in trouble for sometimes just totally mocking religions in a whole bunch of words that I'm just so elated to say sometime about religions. I don't care which religion it is. If it's one I'm going to join in the future, I don't think that's going to happen. But, a lot of these religious people would say, you shouldn't be mocking God. You're one day going to be sorry for that. I've definitely never heard that before. But I want to bring people in here and really grill them about why they have their religious beliefs. Is it because they grew up in it and that's what they know and they feel it's true? Is it because they really ask themselves sincere questions and somehow come to the conclusion that they're going down the right path? I don't know. I'm just interested. I want to get somebody in here and just sort of grill them over about why they believe what they believe. I mean, kindly, obviously, but I'm genuinely interested. I want to know. It doesn't matter to me if someone's a Christian, a Mormon, a Muslim, a Jew, an atheist, a Buddhist. I want to bring them in here and I want to really question them down. And I also wouldn't mind talking to some spiritualists. Aren't those people kind of crazy? These spiritual people that don't believe really in a God, they more just believe in the universe, and they're really spiritual. I want to bring them in here and just sort of grill them down about it. Let's talk about having an open mind for a minute. This is one of the main purposes of me starting the podcast. After spending so many years in the FLDS, having these strict beliefs and, pulling out my Book of Mormon every morning, trying to memorize a verse, getting my priesthood articles out, I'm just amazed at how long I went without considering some other options. Some of my brothers were probably smarter than me. They're like, scrap this, we're out. And I was sort of thinking, no, we're definitely right, and these guys are definitely losing the path. Until it just got so painful that I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm out too. So, how can I ensure that in the future I'm not going to get wrapped up into some more bullshit? And the answer is by always maintaining an open mind. By always asking what I'm doing. Or why I'm doing what I'm doing. No matter the religion, no matter the path I take, no matter the purpose I find, I want to always keep an open mind. Do you even know what it means to have an open mind? Most people say, oh, I definitely have an open mind. And then they proceed to use all the logic they can possibly come up with to justify their feelings. Humans do, the definition of being a human is to do things because of how you feel. We generally use all the logic we can possibly muster to justify why we do what we do. And it's very rare that you come across someone that uses logic over their feelings. It's very rare. I think to the degree that we are successful in the world depends more or less on this. But even really successful people often become successful because they felt so disgusting not being successful. It was how they felt that pushed them to go do something. It wasn't so much because they were logical. It was because they felt disgusting and they wanted to change things and they felt motivated, and so they put some logic to it and went and got it done. How we feel generally dictates everything we do. Discipline is important, but even our discipline can only go so far. Otherwise, we're just going to quit. So, in conclusion, I just want to ask you if you were ever that faithful person that was all dressed up in a suit, that got his tie just right and put a clip tie on and shined up your Sunday shoes because you so firmly believed that you were going to church because God's real, and then you lost your purpose. I'm interested if that's happened to you. And if it has, I want you to come on my podcast and tell me about it. And I want to grill you down about it. And I promise I'll be nice. I mean, if you give me the opportunity to just mock you and you want me to roast you and say all kinds of negative things about how you look and your bad attire and the, you know, little bumps and moles on your skin, I'll definitely do it. You should come on and let me do that. So, our main purpose here is to ask questions and not assume ever that we're 100% right. If someone has something to say that is a probable solution, we should certainly listen to it. That's my thesis. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope you'll join me on this journey. But for now, peace out.